United Way campaign coordinator, and I want to thank everyone for.
All right, Candy.
Of course, my being here, being part of the team for United Way, really helps me to feel part of the team. Unlike some people who have played on a team, not that we know of anyone like that at this current time. Perhaps the team might be the Mariners, who won last night 3-0.
Yeah.
Recently, Dan Wilson and his wife Annie have become members of the United Way team as the spokespeople for King County United Way. And I'd like to introduce to you to Dan and Annie Wilson, and please join me in welcoming them warmly with applause. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And before we kind of get into it, I want to pass that, kind of echo that right back to Sandy. We know from our experience with United Way, almost coming up on a year now, just all the hard work that goes into the campaigns and what the campaign coordinators go through. So I think we need to give Sandy a round of applause as well. But we are really excited to be here. Annie and I just live, we just lived on a Mont Lake, so we probably passed your building about, I don't know, 6,000 times since we've been here. We were going to try to come up with a Northwest profile of our own for United Way campaign chairs, but we are not that creative, so I apologize. But we do take note of the temperature and the time as we drive by here, and whatever else, other statistic you guys might have. If you want to start putting Mariner wins up there, that would be fun as well. So, but we really appreciate having you guys in the neighborhood, and it's great to have you a part of this amazing community. I think for Annie and I, one of the great things that we get a chance to do as campaign chairs, like we mentioned, was to go out in the community and to meet folks like you guys, the people that are doing the hard work in our communities, both as volunteers and also as funders. So this is a great opportunity for us to meet you and to share with you guys all the great stuff that United Way is doing. For Annie and I, our story in Seattle really begins back in 1994. That's when I was traded here. I originally came up with Cincinnati and was traded here in 1994 for a second baseman named Brett Boone. Some of you guys might remember Brett. He came back later and was a teammate of ours. But we were traded for each other originally. But when we got to Seattle, I think the thing that Annie and I saw right away was just what an incredible and generous community the Northwest is. And I think we learned right away that the people in the Northwest really do care about one another, and they are very generous with their dollars and their time in helping give back to the community. And I think Annie and I were impressed with that. And we also were within an organization, the Seattle Mariners, who felt very strongly about giving back to the community as well. And one of the things that we found very early on with the Mariners was that their community relations department was great about finding and matching up players' passions and the things that they cared about with things that they could do out in the community. So we've been very grateful for the relationship that we've had over the years with the Seattle Mariners, and that continues today. And they've been a huge partner, will continue to be a huge partner with United Way. In fact, they've been the last 3 years in a row, what they call a three-peat, which is they've had 100% participation from their employees, which is amazing. So we're really proud of that. As I think back on my career and our career here in Seattle and all the great moments that we had, and there were some great moments on the field for sure. I think for Annie and I, one of the things that really stuck out was some of the stuff that was going on, not necessarily on the field, but off the field. Some of the people, some of the great people that we had the incredible good fortune of playing with and kind of growing up with here in Seattle. And I think, we think about Jay and Leah Vuner, folks that gave a lot back to cystic fibrosis. And I remember Jay and Leah would leave games in the Kingdome. We all remember the Kingdome, right? They would leave the Kingdome and go to Children's Hospital and visit kids, and really develop a lot of strong relationships with some of the cystic fibrosis kids. And I think of Edgar and Holly Martinez as well, doing a lot of work with muscular dystrophy, and today with the Martinez Foundation, they're doing incredible things for education in our community. And I think of Ken Griffey Jr., the guy that was unbelievable on the field, but he and his wife Melissa would charter airplanes and send sick kids down at Disneyland and do incredible things in the community that not a lot of people knew about or heard about. And I think for us as young adults at 24, 25 years old, whatever we were when we got here, those kind of acts and things that they were doing in the community had a huge impact on us. And so we just said, you know, we want to do the same thing, and we understood at that point what it meant to be a big leaguer and be a Seattle Mariners.
Yeah, when we moved here to Seattle, we were incredibly blessed by the community and blessed with baseball in general. But we always knew, Dan and I, that baseball couldn't be everything, and we didn't want it to be everything. And that's why United Way has been such a great thing for us in the phase of life we're in right now. And we have seen firsthand how United Way does such a good job of connecting people with their passions to organizations with the expertise to really get things done in our community. And it's been a blessing for us to see some of the organizations that exist that we didn't even know about in our community that are solving problems. And it's been really inspiring, and we have loved every minute of it. One of the things that we're really impressed with that we've seen through United Way is just their commitment to meeting basic needs and ending hunger. And one of the things that has really inspired me in particular and our family also is that ending hunger is not just about giving people food. It's about providing them with the right kinds of food, healthy food. And United Way is supporting community gardens and community dinners so that people can have access to vegetables and fruits, and not just access to them, but learn how to cook them and harvest them so that we can really impact our community and make a difference and end hunger in our community. So through that process, my youngest son has decided that we need to start a garden in our backyard, which we are not gardeners at all, but we've been able to successfully harvest potatoes and green beans and broccoli and some strawberries. So it just shows me that something like that, impacting my child, will then have this long-lasting impact in the future. So another area that I'm very passionate about as a former educator is making sure that every child in our community has an equal chance to succeed. United Way is very serious about this, and they've brought a program here called the Parent-Child Home Program. I think many of you might be familiar with this, but it's really simple. It's having someone meet with a family twice a week, family that might be struggling for a variety of reasons. Maybe it's financial, maybe they're newly immigrants to the community. For whatever reason, they're struggling. And it's going in with a book or an educational toy and working to foster that parent-child bond, which then impacts their development, which then impacts how they do in school, which then impacts graduation rates, which then impacts our community in a big way. And so we have seen how this program is really changing our community, and it's exciting. We've gone from serving 150 families to 750. And United Way is committed to making sure that every family that needs it or wants it will have access to this program. And then another area that's really near and dear to our hearts is ending homelessness. When Dan and I first moved here, we got involved with First Place School, which is a school that serves kids who are struggling and battling homelessness. And we saw firsthand how difficult that life is and what an impact it has. United Way is really working hard to support permanent housing and supportive services. So people who have a desire to get off the streets and really work at getting their lives back have the services they need and the housing they need. Since 2007, United Way has provided over 1,800 homes for people who are struggling with homelessness, many of them vets. So that really shows tremendous support for that community. Well, now there's a new passion that United Way has that Ann and I are really excited about, and that is ending youth homelessness. And every night there's over 1,000 kids in our community living on the streets for various different reasons. They may have aged out of the foster care system. They may have had a blow up at home with their families. We don't know exactly why they're on the streets, but we know that we need to help them and get them to safety. And so that is a new commitment of United Way. And Dan is going to share in a little bit how you can become personally involved with that if you would like to, in a very, very fun and exciting way. But right now, we really want to say thank you to PEMCO because you guys care about our community, and that is evidenced in a lot of different ways. But Dan alluded earlier to the PEMCO commercials, and our family is huge. We are huge fans of them. In fact, often my kids are late to school because a new commercial will come out and we'll have to play it on YouTube, and then we get lost in all the different ones. We pick our favorite ones, so they're just great. And I was thinking about why we love them so much, and it's because it creates a sense of community. You know, we listen to them and we think, oh my gosh, I totally do that. I'm one of those people. And we feel connected and bonded. And that's what United Way is about. It's about saying, you know, we need to come together as a community to solve these problems. And we are doing that, and I think that says so much about our community in Seattle, and it's why we've chosen to stay here. You know, you guys really are committed, and it was interesting to learn that not only have you had the solar panels that we get to see the highlights on your board as we drive by, but also 5% of your increase in surplus to charity every year is given, and that is an amazing commitment for a company. So. Thank you so much for having us here. Thank you for your commitment to United Way, and I'm going to pass it back to Dan.
Another way that PEMCO really does make a big difference in the lives of those at United Way is through the support of Gary Bowers, who has been the loan executive that has been supported by PEMCO for the last 10 years, I believe, Gary. That's why he's so great. And but Gary does such great work with United Way, and so we're very appreciative also to PEMCO for helping out with Gary, and he's become such a figure over at United Way and has done some great work over the years, so thank you for that as well. Baseball players, as you know, like to pay a lot of attention to statistics. Annie gave you a few statistics earlier. I'll give you a couple more, and one of the things that we've really tried to focus on this year as part of our campaign is volunteerism, getting out into the community as volunteers. And right now, in King County, 33% of adults regularly volunteer out in our community, which is a pretty big number, and that comes out to about 40 hours per year on an average. And so that's a pretty good number. I think one of the things that we're hoping this year is talking about volunteerism and kind of opening up the discussion a little bit. Is we'd love to see, just like the Mariners, would love to see us break that 500 mark and see like 50% of adults out regularly volunteering in the community. And that's one of the hopes that we have through our campaign this year. We had a saying in 1995, you know, when we got to August and we started to make this little bit of a run in September, and things were starting to look a little bit better for us. We had this saying among the guys that said, you know, what got us to this point in the season isn't going to get us to where we need to go. We're going to have to push more. We're going to have to push harder. We're going to have to work a little bit harder. And when I think about volunteering and I think about giving, especially financial giving as well, I feel like that applies to that as well. And being able for all of us to go out, push a little bit more, do a little bit more volunteering out in the community would be great. And I know that PEMCO, with the Year 8 program that you guys have here, you are doing that. And that's the 8 hours of paid time at an organization of your choice. That is a tremendous effort and a tremendous example for companies here in the Seattle and King County area. So thank you for the work that you're doing already in volunteering. So if you're not out there volunteering regularly, get out there and volunteer. You'll find and you'll see firsthand what Annie and I have seen, and that is that you'll see a lot of the innovative work that's really going on here with United Way, and you'll be very pleased that you're out there doing it. But we'd also ask that you would play a part financially as well, and that's one of the things that we get to do this year is to go to those companies and ask them for their financial support as well. And as Annie mentioned, it helps with the Parent-Child Home Program. It helps kids with the summer meal program and ending hunger, and it pays for therapists and counselors and shelters for folks fleeing domestic violence. There's so much that United Way does in this community, and it takes your dollars. So we're very appreciative of the dollars that you guys support us with, and we just hope that this campaign continues to be a great campaign for United Way. But one of the things that we're most proud of at United Way in terms of our dollars is through the generous grant from the Gates Family Foundation. 98 cents out of every dollar that you donate to United Way will go to the programs that you want it to go to. And I think when you look at the nonprofit world, that's incredibly unheard of, to know that 98 cents out of every dollar goes to those programs. So that's one of the things we're most proud of at United Way. So give at the level you can give at, and we're very excited that this campaign is going to be what it is. And also with the school employees, Credit Union Sandra, thank you for being here and all the work you guys do. You know, Andy being a former educator, the work that you do kind of hits close to home, so thank you for that as well, and thank you for your campaign. And lastly, before we let you go, there's one other thing we want to ask you guys to be a part of, and Andy had mentioned it earlier. Youth homelessness is becoming a priority and a concern for United Way and a focus for them this year. One of the things we're going to do on June 15th to not only raise dollars, but also raise a lot of awareness around this issue, is we're going to have somewhat of a celebrity softball game over at SECUWA Field, June 15th. I've asked Jay Negger to come back and put on a uniform again, and we've got Gary Payton's going to be there, Slick Watts from the Sonics, Steve Zakawani from the Sounders, Sherman Alexie, the author. We're going to have a lot of other folks out there as well. And it's going to be a fun afternoon, and we're going to have a concert after the game from a local Seattle artist as well. So it's going to be a great family afternoon at SECUWA Field, and it's going to be really designed around this issue of youth homelessness. We're going to try to raise a lot of money, but we're also going to try to raise awareness and educate folks about the concern of youth homelessness. So that's something you guys can play a part in. We're hoping to have a great turnout for fans. Go to the United Way website. You'll see all about it there, the All-Star Softball Classic. It's something that we're very, very excited about in Seattle as well. So give, you can volunteer, take action, as the signs say. That's really what it means to live united here in King County. So thank you for having us, Sandy. Thank you for your work, and have a good lunch. Thank you.
To thank you, since you are such fans of the Northwest profiles.
Oh yeah, open again.
Please do, open them now.
I can only imagine.
Oh, I love it! This Dan does this, sandals and sock guy.
Yes.
Love this. That's awesome.
The super long coffee order.
Oh, you used to be that.
I used to be that.
Oh, this is very nice.
Northwest male action figure.
Okay, Dan and Annie will be seated here if you'd like to come and say hello and drop money and checks into this great big huge bowl. Please feel free. Don't be shy. They're very friendly. Thank you, everyone.
Give me that.